Texans, Ravens, game preview. Here we go. And in the context of this season, starting 0-3, then beating the Titans, what a magnificent opportunity the Texans have to go to Baltimore and win there for the first time ever and get within a game of 500. A lot of work to do to get there. This series, Johnny, we bring up this series because it has not been good. And I think it's the kind of thing DeMeco Ryans might want to bring up to the whole team, even though they weren't here for the bulk of this thing. You're down 11-2 in the regular season series. Also, 2 playoff losses, including a lot of guys who are playing on this team in 2023's capper. So a lot of motivation there to get your first one in Baltimore.
Yeah, and I don't know if I could say this any worse or better. They've owned you it's been dominating the last 6 games. In 2014, one of the great wins in the history of the Texans, Case Keenum came out of a deer blind. There could be a 30 for 30 for that. It was incredible. Came out of a deer blind, threw the first 2 balls to Andre Johnson, and went down and kicked the field goal, and from that point on, they just dominated the Ravens. Since then, it has been completely the opposite direction. The next game was in 2017. On the drive in the first quarter, went 90 yards in a drive. Lamar Miller punched it in 7-0 Monday Night Football. Since that touchdown, the Ravens have outscored the Texans 187-53.
Ouch. That is domination, including the Christmas Day game last year where the Texans scored only 2 points, courtesy of a Kamari Lassiter tackle on Derrick Henry. And Derrick Henry is still part of this football team. We know the Ravens are all banged up, all sorts of injuries to talk about, but Henry still plays in Baltimore, and that is a factor. Let's get to 3 things to look out for in this one. I'm going to start.
Okay.
Ravens running defense, the rush defense for the Ravens, not exactly where they want it to be.
Right.
They're giving up 140 yards per game. Last week, the Texans took on a Titans team that was giving up over 140 yards per game. This is another opportunity for these backs to get it going, to run for well over 100 yards if possible, and that will obviously help out C.J. Stroud in the passing attack.
Do you know what the number was last year we met them on Christmas Day, what they were giving up at that point? Do you remember?
They were better.
A lot better. 83 yards a game.
Yeah.
83 yards a game versus 140. Now, there have been some things that have changed. Travis Jones is no longer there in the middle. The guy that we just can't, Michael Pierce, the guy we just could not block. Broderick Washington's banged up, etc. I think, and I'll go to mine, we have no idea who's actually going to play for the Ravens. They are banged up. There have been reports about Lamar, etc., etc. I think one of the biggest is Roquan Smith. If Roquan Smith doesn't play, that impacts that run defense you just mentioned that much more because he drives everything. In 22, when we played Roquan with the Bears, he had 16 tackles and basically a game-ending pick. We played him then when he was with the Ravens to kick off the 2023 season. He had 16 tackles and about 2 or 3 TFLs and a sack or 2. He's had double-digit tackles every single time we have played Roquan Smith since that Bears game in 2022 after the trade to the Ravens. If Roquan is out, that might be as big a deal for the Texans offense as it might be for Lamar Jackson to be out potentially against the Texans defense.
Very good. Give me one now.
Well, I think, like you said, the offense being able to run the ball is going to be huge, but they really have not been able to throw the ball well against the Ravens. That secondary has always just put clamps on them. There's not been anything really to be able to throw the ball against them and have sustained success. When they get down near the red zone the last few years against them, we've not put the ball in the end zone. In fact, the touchdown that was scored in the last 3 meetings came courtesy of Steven Sims. But I think the Texans have got to be able to create explosive plays in the passing game against this Ravens defense. The 2 corners are banged up. That still leaves Kyle Hamilton and Malachi Starks, the rookie from Georgia, at safety. But you've got to attack 2 corners that potentially don't start. It might be one of the former Cyclones. It might be TJ Tampa going against all his Cyclone buddies. But they've got to attack through the air. I know the run game's got to be effective. If the run game is effective, then play action becomes big. But they've got to be able to throw the ball. And almost more importantly, they got to convert in the red zone through the air. It can't just be we get in the red zone and, we got to settle for field goals because they just clamped it all down back there. No, we get in the red zone, we got to be able to throw it in the end zone for touchdowns.
Okay, what about this now? We mentioned Derrick Henry, Justice Hill, another talented runner. Even with healthy Lamar Jackson, they have not been who they were running the football, though. Right. It's weird. Last year, number one offense in the league, the Baltimore Ravens. Number one rushing attack in the league, the Baltimore Ravens. This year, not so much. Cleveland went in there, and I know the score was lopsided, but the Browns kept them in check. On defense, the Browns screwed it up because they had a punt block. Yep. They had 2 turnovers that were extremely costly, a fumble that was returned for a touchdown by Roquan Smith, adding to your point that if he doesn't play, that's a huge factor for the Texans. But I'll give you the most important one here. Okay. Beware the wounded animal. Do not take the rat poison here. And I'll give you examples in Texans history when you had situations when you thought, okay, the starting quarterback is out. This should be an easy. No. Titans week 2, 2018. Blaine Gabbert and Derrick Henry running the wild Henry. Henry taking direct snaps, running it down the Texans' throat. That hurt a lot. Patriots week 3, 2016. Oh, Brady's out and Garoppolo's out. They're going to start a rookie named Jacoby Brissett. They blew you out. You were shut out in that game week 3. And Indy week 5, the game we call the Hasselbeck in a diaper game because he had Montezuma's revenge. Well, he was the backup quarterback to Andrew Luck, played the week before to low-scoring win against Jacksonville. This shouldn't be too much of a problem. It was a big problem. These games can be a big problem. They're going to circle the wagons. They need this one desperately, as do the Texans, so beware the wounded animal, Johnny.
Yeah, absolutely. Just thinking of as you went through each and every one of those games, just almost hitting my head on the mic like, oh, that game is such a bad memory.
Yes.
Oh, that one's terrible.
Yes.
And the one that really stands out, I guess, maybe because it's Derrick Henry that we're about to face again, was 2018 when Blaine Gabbert's got to start and Marcus Mariota does it. It was like, oh, we got this one. They were without their 2 starting tackles, too.
You know what Matt LaFleur said to me? Matt LaFleur was their OC.
I remember that.
He said it in the hallway upstairs because he was the OC in the press box, so I saw him in the hallway. I know him from the past. I said, oh, man, it's too bad you have all those guys out. And he just bowed up. He said, this is the NFL. We'll be ready. We'll be ready. They won the game.
They won the game.
Right, Mattress Firm, sleeper of the game. Mattress Firm, the official sleep partner of the Houston Texans. Who do you got?
I think that at some point, you mentioned it, the wild Henry. But I think they're going to put both Derrick Henry and Justice Hill in the game. And that gets problematic. So now you got to start tackling his space pretty well. I'm going to say my sleeper of the game ends up being, and I don't even know if he's a sleeper. I think he's just a big key. I think it's Jalen Pitre.
Okay.
I think Pitre, he didn't play in the game in Christmas time last year. He had, in the playoff game, he had opportunities to make some plays. A couple of them that went right through his hands. I think open field tackling against the Ravens has got to be at a premium. And to me, that puts Jalen Pitre right in the crosshairs. You've got to tackle well. And we know Petre's physical. We know he's fast. But it's bringing those 2 guys that are completely different down to the ground. I think I'm going to go with Jalen Pitre as my sleeper of the game.
Calen Bullock for me. I don't know if he's a sleeper, but, man, it's time to enter the pick party.
Yes.
Okay, Pitre has one. Sting has one. Now it's time for Calen to add to the mix. Get that ball out of the air, get it for the Houston Texans, preferably in scoring range, and make magic happen. There is your Texans-Ravens preview.